Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Bodybuilding Mountain. And today I'm going to talk to you about one of the questions that was asked by one of my Patreon supporters. And on Patreon, I do make a podcast every week on these various subjects, giving my opinions, experiences, and sometimes just basically sharing possibilities with you of what you can try in your training or what maybe to look at in order to find out what's right for you. So if you guys are interested in that sort of thing, the link is in the description. But today I'm going to address one of the questions that was asked, and that was how to isolate the upper chest. Now, this is an age-old question. Like, since the dawn of time, I have basically met, maybe on one finger, how many guys I know that have too much upper chest in comparison to the rest of the chest, right? So the chest is one of those muscles that we hit with inclines, we hit with declines, we hit with flat, trying to isolate the chest as best as we can to take out the shoulders and the triceps, so that way the chest is actually growing. But isolating the upper chest can sometimes be tricky, but the standard protocol for isolating the upper chest, or at least engaging more of the upper chest, is the incline press. Now, one thing that happens with a lot of us is that we'll do the incline press and check that off the list and say, okay, there you go, I did the necessary upper chest work, and now let's move on to whatever else I've got on my schedule or my program. But sometimes you may find that it's not necessarily hitting your upper chest that well. You're hitting more delt or something else is fatiguing long before the upper chest is fatiguing, or you're noticing that you're just not getting the development there. And I'm with you on that. It is really difficult, but here are some ideas of what to try in order to get more upper chest engagement in your chest training. Now, one thing you can try is if you're doing mostly barbell and dumbbell free weights, and you're including a lot of stability in these movements, of course, because they're free weights, you could try stuff that is already stabilized to take some of the stabilizers out of the movement to see if you get more chest activation. A Smith machine with an incline bench would be a primary example of this. And this is one of the reasons why you see a lot of bodybuilders use machines or stabilized movements from time to time. Because sometimes the free weight engages too much other activity in order for you to really focus on this one muscle group. So sometimes one muscle group starts to take the background when stability is involved, because the stabilization becomes more of a weak link, let's put it that way, in some scenarios, depending on how you're built and injury history and so forth. So one thing you could try is a Smith machine incline and see if you get a little bit more activation from that. Now, the other thing is, and again, I'm going to break my own rules on this stuff, because again, the rules that are for me and the rules that are for you might be totally different. So I'm always open to that. But one thing I've been experimenting with lately is front raises, but listen to me for a second, in a different positioning than normal front raises. So normal front raises, guys, are just lifting the arms like this with the palms to the floor or the thumbs up, and they're getting a lot of delt work on that. But what I'm doing is I'm grabbing one dumbbell and almost doing a ballerina type of move with the elbows up, and then I'm moving the dumbbell up and down, and I'm noticing that I'm getting trap work along with some heads of the clavicle. There's something going on in here which is activating the upper chest. Now, is it isolating it? No. But is it involving it? Yes. And when I do this before my incline presses, I'm noticing I'm getting a little bit more exhaustion in the upper chest. Now, of course, I can always use more trap work too, so I don't really mind that I'm involving the trap in this movement and stretching out the neck muscles, but I am getting a little bit of upper chest in this. So something like this type of thinking outside the box might help you involve that upper chest. Now, another thing you could try is some things that you see people do in the gym. They basically have their hands together on an incline, and they're basically grabbing onto a plate or two dumbbells together, and they're incline pressing with the arms close together. Now, the standard protocol for an incline is usually with the elbows flared or slightly tucked, and that's how you do a standard incline press. But by changing the positioning of the elbows, you may notice that you get more upper chest activation. And because you're bringing the arms together, you may be taking out some of the front delt in the movement, depending on the angle of the bench that you're doing. And from doing this, you may notice that there's more exhaustion or fatigue in the upper chest. So this is something else to try. So if you're wondering what that pissing sound in the background is, that's just water falling off the gutters. A lot of rain going on outside right now. It's a free car wash. My car's getting washed outside right now. Now, another thing that I tried years ago was also when I'm doing inclines, supinating the hands and pressing upwards. It's like a reverse grip, almost like semi-reverse grip type of incline. Not with a barbell, but with dumbbells. So I can choose the level of supination that I want to have. And then I started to press that way. And I noticed that I did get a little bit of activation in the upper chest from that. But again, you know, none of these things might be perfect, but there may be some possibility of something you can build upon by using these different movements. Now, obviously the incline fly is great for some people, but I noticed the incline fly, if your shoulders are overpowering the movement, you may need to change to an incline hybrid press fly combination, which is something somebody else did talk about in the comments, where basically you keep the arms bent, so you're flying as much as you can, and you're just straightening the arm a little bit more than a standard dumbbell press, but you're bending the arm enough that it's protecting the shoulder and not involving the shoulder stabilization too much or extending the bicep, right? So because you're bending the arm and coming down to stretch the chest, you're not necessarily depending on the shoulder to pull the weight out of the hole. You're actually bringing in the chest a little bit because you're putting the chest in a little bit more of a mechanical advantage in that moment. And of course, when you come up, then you can straighten the arms a little bit more and then squeeze the upper chest. Now, some of these might work for you, some of these might not, but try them out and see which one is the perfect one for you. And yeah, let me know how it works. Mountain. So I hope this helps out in your training. Thanks a lot for watching. If you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalbodybuilding.com, and thanks to the Patreon supporters, and take care for now. Natural.